Okay, this is my third time filming this intro because my mic died on me twice. Hopefully third time's a charm. I know it's been a while since I made like a full-length sewing video, which is why I'm actually really excited to make this video. I have been uploading little shorts of thrift flips that I've been doing lately, but I'm excited to get back into the full-length videos because I really enjoy making them. But for today's video, I'm going to be kind of documenting the process of a thrift flip that I've been wanting to do for a while actually. And this is the perfect timing because my birthday is coming up and I decided that I want to make a birthday dress for my 20th birthday. Of course, like all of my videos, I have to put the little disclaimer. This is not a tutorial, so please don't come for me in the comments if it's hard to follow because I'm just documenting the process. I'm happy to get back into these sewing type videos. Hopefully I'm more consistent with these sewing videos because I do enjoy them and I do want to improve my sewing, so these videos kind of act as a way to hold me accountable because Lord knows that I take a minute to upload videos sometimes. I hope this is helpful to some people who want to make their own dress in a similar style, but if not, hope you enjoy. Okay, this portion of the video is going to be mainly voiceover because I was locking in and I got straight into making the dress. I kind of started off by mapping how I wanted to do it. The dress was a cute style, you know, but it wasn't for me. It was kind of giving like grandma. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But anyways, I ended up flipping the dress upside down because I don't know, the way it was right side up was not really ideal for the style that I wanted. And then also the dress originally was very low cut, which is exactly what I didn't want. So as you can see, I'm flipping it over and basically kind of almost starting from scratch because I had to cut the top part off along with the bottom ruffles, as you see, and then I basically flipped it around. It doesn't really look like there's a big difference in me flipping it, but it definitely made a difference because the dimensions of the dress were kind of weird. The top bit was a little bit wider, so me flipping it over allowed me to have like a more form-fitting kind of feel at the top and then a looser bottom. I also decided to use the sleeves for the top part of the dress. I thought the shape was already fitting for the style that I wanted, and it was also very resourceful, so I just mapped that out and then cut off the extra fabric, as you can see that I'm doing here. I used the first one that I cut out and traced it onto the second sleeve so I can make them as even as possible, which is typically kind of hard for me to do, but I think they did turn out pretty even. After I cut off the top parts, I began mapping everything together with the bottom pieces and seeing how I wanted it to be and what tweaks that I needed to make. As you can see, the vision is already getting there. It's super cute, but the dress was a little too short for my liking, so I did go ahead and add an extra layer kind of out of the scrap fabric that I have, just to kind of elongate the dress and make it more fitting for the style that I wanted. This part was a little tough because the scrap fabric was a little smaller than I anticipated, but it did end up working just fine. After I added that little additional layer, I also put the ruffles to kind of measure, and then as you can see, I had this curtain that I also thrifted, so this is like a 100% thrift flip. I wanted to use the very pretty embroidery design on it, and I mapped it out on the top parts of it. But after I cut both of them out, I ended up not really liking it, so I decided to go with a more plain fabric for the top areas, as you're going to see in the next clips. Once I put the plain pieces of the fabric onto the ones that I cut out, I decided to iron it because, you know, it makes everything easier, makes the garments look crisp. Make sure you iron your garments. It really does make a difference in the long run. Everything turned out so clean as opposed to when I don't iron my garments. So another thing that I also started doing was doing a running stitch along where I pinned before sewing. This is literally such a big game changer. Like, I have a problem with seam allowance, so it definitely helps me stay within my seam allowance and not go over or under. So it also allows it to stay intact. I don't know, but it really does help me. It's a little tedious, I know it takes a lot of time, but I think it's definitely worth it. And before you guys say anything, yes, I put my sewing machine on the floor. I was too lazy to go on the table. But here I sewed everything that I pinned in place and then cut off the extra fabric. For this, I initially wanted it to flip it inside out, but I ended up not doing that. I preferred how it looked wrong side actually up. As you can see, I flipped it and then it ended up kind of being really baggy and weird. So I just left it the way I sewed it originally and then sewed the raw edges in so it would look cleaner. Here I am back on the floor sewing my garments together and sewing the hems in place that I did for the top areas. And then here I decided to pin everything together so I had a clear vision of where I was heading. For the bottom area of the dress, I did want to have a little bit of the chiffon that I used for the top to cover the bottom. I thought it would tie in so nicely and kind of have a sense of like uniformity within the dress, and then also it would act as a way to kind of cover up any rough edges that might have been left on when sewing the elongating piece to the dress. Like I did with the other pieces of fabric, I did a running stitch for the overlayer because I wanted it to have a little bit of a gathering effect, and then I went ahead and pinned and sewed everything together. Okay, it's like day 3, I want to say, of me making this dress, and I never gave a formal update for day 2. I kind of just kept going because the first day I was really mapping everything out, and then the second day is actually when I started to, you know, start cutting and sewing. The clip that I just showed is how the dress is looking so far, and I don't want to speak too soon, but you know, I like where it's heading. The only thing left that I have to do is sew everything, all the 3 pieces together, and then work on the little sleeve shawl part that was in my sketch, and then also sewing on the embroidery. I'm not going to continue until later tonight because I am going out, so it's going to stay like how I just showed right now, and then later tonight I'm going to try to attach all the pieces together and hopefully get started on the finishing touches, which is the embroidery and the sleeves. It's actually going by a lot quicker than I thought it was, which is amazing, but that's where we're at. Ignore the mess and the terrible lighting. Well, it's not that messy, but like, whatever. I did show the clip before of how the dress is looking, and this is how it looks on. I didn't sew anything yet, I just pinned everything in place. And the slit is actually supposed to be on this side. I pinned the top part backwards, and I'm not going to turn around because the back is a little low right now. I'm kind of liking how it looks so far. The only thing that I have to decide is how low I want it to be. For example, if I want the top part to be more slouchy like this, I have to pin the back closer to this side, if that makes sense. And if I want it to be tighter, this back part does have to be sewn to the center of my back, if that makes sense. I also am thinking of adding a little tie to this part, like upper waist area, because it's a little bit looser than I thought it was going to be, but we'll see. After I sew the top, I'll be able to make proper judgments. Guys, I don't even know what to say. Okay, the shoulders are a little like iffy right now. I might do some modifications. I don't hate it though. It's a little bit broad, but you know what? I feel like I can work with it. And I'm just so happy with how it's turning out. This is basically the final base of the dress, and it looks exactly like my sketch, which is like just so satisfying for me. I'm gonna cut out the embroidery pieces from the fabric I was using, and then I'm gonna see if it looks nice. If not, and it just makes the dress look like cheap, I'm gonna refrain from adding that. But this is like the done base of the dress. Like, I'm pretty much done. The embroidery is like the accessory, if I even end up adding it, because I started cutting it and I don't know I don't know how the embroidery situation is going to turn out. If I do end up adding the embroidery, I will show it here. If not, then I'll just add a clip of me wearing this. And this is supposed to be my birthday dress. I think I mentioned it already. I'm thinking of even making a pattern of this dress, because like, why not? I want to share it. So I'll see you guys when I'm putting the embroidery on the dress. So it's actually 3 weeks later since I've been making this dress, and I said I was gonna add finishing touches like that day or the next day, but I had to pack and go on vacation, and I accidentally left behind my sewing supplies. So it just stayed like that for 3 weeks, and then yesterday I went to the market, and then we got finally needle and thread and my scissors, because my scissors got thrown out because apparently they were in my carry-on. In the original clip, I showed that I was gonna use this embroidery thread and then cut it out and put it on, and I did, but I didn't really like how it looked. It was a little off, and also it was tedious to cut this off, so I'm not going to do that again. But instead, I'm gonna use this trim that I got from the market yesterday. And what I'm doing is basically cutting the bottom part off, so I just have the rough edges of the flowers, so it's a little easier for me to manipulate onto the dress and make any alterations that I want to. This is what I'm going to sew onto the dress, and then I'll finally be done with this dress. The base is already completely done, which is great. This is just the last thing left. What I decided to do is kind of cut in between the flowers, because the look, even though it's pretty, it's a little bulkier than what I wanted. As you can see, if I put it on, it's very, I don't know, very bulky for lack of a better word. So what I decided to do was cut in between them, and what I'm gonna do is kind of flip it in a way like that, so it's like every other one. I feel like that looks way prettier, and kind of matches what I wanted to go for.